Hi there, special good day to you, my young people. Absolutely, what a joy just to come to you today with another video. It's been a while, but I hope you're well. Of course, the exam season is upon us, and some of you may be doing your mock exams right now as I speak, and at A levels, you're probably just getting ready for your advanced level exams coming up soon. At university, of course, you may be writing your thesis, getting ready to present your dissertation, your action research, or your doctoral PhD thesis. Really doesn't matter what level you're at. Just want to take a few minutes to encourage you as we come to this exam season. But if you're writing an examination, just want to encourage you to be as calm as ever. I know you would have done your preparation. As the saying goes, if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. If you fail to plan, plan to fail. But the good part is, the encouraging part is that I know you have been revising, I know you have been preparing, and now it's the time when you have to show what you have learned. I just want to take a few minutes just to highlight a few points to encourage you as far as examination techniques are concerned. So what I would suggest that you try to get a good night's rest before your exam. You would have been preparing all along, all the study techniques which you have gone through. Of course, if you're in my class, then you know how to revise, etc., etc. That's probably for another video. But just want to encourage you that as you have done your revision, I would suggest you get a good night's rest. Okay, the night before the exam is not the time to be cramming and panicking and all that, because you have put the work in. You have been revising, you have been studying, whether individually or in a group, whatever strategy or techniques you use, all of that you have been doing. So now it comes a time to show yourself and to your lecturers, your teachers, your parents, your significant others, what you have done and what you have studied. So the exam should be an opportunity to do all those things, to demonstrate your learning, to show that to your teachers that you have grasped the concepts and that you are able to actually reproduce them, to analyze, to evaluate, to apply the learning, and to show that you have grasped the concepts and you're able to answer the questions set in a specific way. So you're there, you had a good night's rest, you prepare, you're up early and you get to the exam early. I would suggest study your timetable, set alarms, whatever you have to do, so that you're not late for your exams or you don't miss your exams. Can you imagine? So get there on time, I would suggest. In some cases, I would even suggest, if possible, you could go to the actual examination room and just kind of familiarize yourself with the setting, the layout, and it does something for you psychologically as well, that you can actually go see the place you're going to do your exam and get in that frame of mind mentally for the task ahead. So get there on time, sit down quietly, and await the instructions. Follow the instructions carefully of the examiners. And when you're seated and all of that, you get your equipment ready. Pack those from overnight, I would suggest. Have everything ready from overnight, so that on the morning of the exam, you don't have to worry about forgetting anything. When you get your paper, of course, you calmly, when it's time for you to turn over and to begin, you calmly read through the instructions. Before you open, don't just get the paper and then you just open and start to answer the question. No, you don't do that at all. So you want to take the time to calm yourself down. You look at the time. It's a 2-hour paper, it's an hour paper, it's an hour and a half paper. Take your time and just look through. Make sure it's the right exam paper you have. Look through the instructions and see exactly what is required of you. Look at the information. For example, if it says do one question from section A and 2 from section B, don't do everything from section A. Read the instructions carefully as to what exactly is required of you. You need to also pay special attention to what is required of each question. If it says outline, list, describe, analyze, evaluate, you need to pay special attention to those verbs and to make sure that you answer the question and do exactly what is required of you. I would also suggest, by reason of technique, that you have a quick look through the paper, identify the questions that you are required to do and can do, and then of course you need to work out your time frame, because one of the worst things I find is when people do not manage their time carefully and correctly. So you actually start to work and you spend all the time on section 1, for example, or on the first question. And I tell you this, that if question 1, for example, let's say you're doing an essay and it values 15 marks, a short answer question. If you spend all the time on that question, the most you're going to get is a perfect 15 marks. You understand what I'm saying to you? You have the whole paper to pick up the marks here and there. So I would suggest you could actually look through the paper, identify the questions that you can do, and do the ones first that you can do very well. I would just suggest that you number your questions very carefully so that when the examiner is marking your paper, they are not confused with the numbering. So do the questions you can do very quickly. And of course, if you at the beginning of the paper, before you start to write anything, you take 5 minutes or so, plan how you're going to tackle this paper. If it's essays, whatever, plan how you're going to do it. If you have to say you have an hour and a half, you need to divide up the time. You need to work out a planning time, maybe 5 to 7, 8 minutes, just for planning, not for writing the answers to the essays. Just for planning how you're going to, your strategy. So if you know, for example, that you have 10 minutes to do a short essay, and it's normally what, a mark and a half per grade. So if you have a 15-mark essay, you're say spending 20 minutes on that. You have a 30-mark essay, you're spending 45 minutes on that, etc. If you have used up the time and you're not finished, leave the space out. Leave the space out and just move on to another question. You can always come back to that later on. But as I mentioned before, if you take all the time perfecting one question at the expense of trying to complete the papers, to do the ones you can do first or later, then you're going to have a problem. You get a perfect 10, 15, 20 marks and still fail the paper. So you want to just work your way through the questions carefully, but at the same time manage your time. Manage your time. Leave it out if you're not quite finished. Move on. You can pick up the marks here and there further, or later on you can always go back and complete what you did not finish. So I would suggest you do that. Work your way through the paper carefully. And the other thing I would suggest as well, some people have the habit of rushing through the exam and then sit down there not knowing what to do because they say they are finished. No, you're not finished. Go back through the paper. You can pick up some marks here and there. If there's a reason why the time was allocated or allotted, that was allotted. So, for example, if it's an hour and a half paper, well, you need the hour and a half. Don't just rush through the paper and then you say you're finished and put your head down. No, you have the time. Read over your question. Check your work over. Check for grammar. Check for spelling. Check to make sure you have the facts down. Check to make sure you answer the question that is set. Check carefully to make sure that you follow the instructions. If it's to list, to outline, to analyze, to describe, to evaluate, whatever the instruction might be, you need to follow those carefully and answer the question. Do not stray from the point and just fill up the writing with irrelevant stuff. No. You need to answer the question. Be concise, be specific, and ensure that exactly whatever strategy you used in your revision, that will come back to you. All right, the techniques to memorize the facts and then to apply the facts, depending on what kind of question you're doing and depending on what kind of exams, of course, you're sitting. But overall, those are just a few points I just want to point out to encourage you if you're writing your exam now or you'll be writing them soon. Make your writing very clear and legible, and of course, most of all, don't forget to put your name on the paper. In some cases, you put your name on each sheet so that if they become dislodged, then of course it can be identified. If you have asked for extra paper, then of course the first thing you need to do is to make sure that you attach carefully the paper onto your exam paper, and above all, make sure your name is on it. When you're finished with the exams, and of course you sit quietly and follow the instructions given, I would suggest don't spend too much time discussing the answers with your friends after the exam is finished. That can be encouraging sometimes, but could be counterproductive if you're discussing the question with others and later find that you didn't write the answer they right or you misinterpret the question. You become demoralized for the next exam coming up. So whatever will affect your confidence, just be mindful of that. You need to take some time to maybe rest. You may need a quick relaxation in between, especially if you have another exam the same day or by the next day. You need to sort out how you're going to rejuvenate and relax a little bit, and then maybe do some revision and get ready mentally for the next paper. So these are just some quick points in terms of following the instruction, reading the paper, time management, and all these exam techniques that will help you and put you in good stead to do very well in your examination. My name is Dr. Phillip O'Connor, and just want to wish you well in your exams. Best wishes and be encouraged. Thanks for joining.